Neroke 5 live stream number 16. You can see the big old 1-6 right there on the screen. I currently am listed at 0. I'm always listed at 0 because I don't do these things on a consistent and regular basis. A lot of these I generally tend to do as the mood strikes me or as whatever. I I read this article a few days ago though on it came up via Instagram, but it was necessary. I took a look at it and I read the article and it was like, what is like? I mean, like there was a lot of people, particularly on Instagram, that were praising this article to the hilt. And I mean, I will post up the cover photo that they had for this article, but I mean, if you want to know what it's called, I will read it out for you here. The Manosphere isn't even having fun. Entertainment and culture, playboy.com. Just in case you want to know what it is. I might post a link, I might not. Written by, and try not to try not to laugh too hard at this one. Written by a woman. I'll just briefly post her photo up here. Magdalene Taylor. Yeah, that's right. This woman is going to define masculinity, and she's also going to tell us all what the manosphere is and isn't. And of course, she does a really, really crappy and shitty job of it. But I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna be after listening to this, I was just like, oh wow. She really, I don't even know if she was actually even there. I am actually, what I'm gonna ask when I get the opportunity here is, I am actually going, if like, I mean, I'm not really in contact with any like Nick Fuentes or the Tates or Myron Gaines or Nick Fuentes or Clavicular or any. I'm actually going to ask whether she was even there or not, because I mean, one of the first things I'm noticing here is that there are four different Twitter pro links tied into this article, none of which are actually tied to her, which is really strange. One of them is by Natalie Denise, who, and I'm just going to take a very quick look because I also took a look at Magdalene Taylor's profile. And yeah, unfortunately, you have to consider the sources before you get into the story. Magdalene Taylor, she LARPs as a conservative. Don't know whether she is actually conservative or not. But I mean, if you want my opinion on conservatives, really all you got to do is just go and look at my most recent my most recent video number 15, where I talk about conservative women. So yeah, I don't know whether Natalie Denise looks like she's a conservative, but yeah, I just recently did this. The next one is a guy by the name of Devo, another person I haven't heard of. Let me just quickly go into the link. And by the way, these links are actually at the article. Devo looks like a guy. Well, let me just take a look at who he's following. That'll probably give me much more of a grasp on who he is and what he's doing here. Devo, yeah, he's more of a content producer. Man, he's probably just a guy who happened to be there. There's like no Manosphere content on his thing. So yeah, he's not a Manosphere guy either. Fresh updates, well, that was one. Yeah, so neither, like, except for there is one here from fresh updates. And again, I'm going to actually have to like click on fresh updates as well, just to take a look at this guy. Because again, right, like some of these pages sound like they might be fan pages until you actually look at them and you realize that they're not. Yeah, this looks like a for whatever reason, this guy seems to be very, very, very hard to follow for whatever reason. I'm talking about specifically the Twitter links here at this point. So yeah, um, sorry, maybe what I ought to do here, and if I'm only want to be posting this up at Rumble, so you might want to. Oh, actually, you know what? I will post it up at both Twitch and Kick as well. There you go. I'm going to post up the link for this in the live chat so you can actually take a look for yourself. If you're on the Twitch or the Kick feed right now, I'm posting these up so that you will be able to take a look at, and you can follow along and read along with what I'm actually talking about here, so that you're not so confused and you're just not taking my word for everything. Yeah, I'm kind of like doing this a bit on the fly. So yeah, here are the links. Here's the links. I posted up the links for the article if you want to follow along. So yeah, what going back to the original point, I saw this on Insta. I saw this particular article on Instagram, and it was getting a lot of thumbs up and a lot of support. And you know, it was yeah, and I was kind of curious about it, so I went over and I took a read. Well, first of all, and again, right at this point, I have posted up the links everywhere so you can follow along. The article is only 5 minutes long. There were certainly, and again, there was a couple of I did find one post on YouTube responding to this, and it's like, you know, yet they were acting as though this 5 minute article was some type of an absolute epic own of the Manosphere. As I'm going through this, I can absolutely tell you that it's not. And right off the top, after this is the first thing that comes up after the header. Literally right below it. After an anti-Semitic and misogynist weekend went viral, it seems the Manosphere is falling apart. Okay, this probably has a lot to do with the fact that Myron Gaines, in particular, is very critical of the government of Israel. And, again, being critical of the government of Israel and not necessarily taking into account, not just buying the narrative coming from the Israeli government or coming from the mainstream media about what is going on what's going on in Gaza Strip or whatever, does not make somebody anti-Semitic. The Israeli government is just as rightfully deserving of criticism as everybody else does. Now, I'm a little bit more flexible when it comes to Israel. I'm a little bit more forgiving, but I'm not super forgiving. And and the other part, misogynistic. Well, I mean, this is the writer of the article. Been to her page. She's not outwardly feminist, but I mean, yeah, if I take a look at her again, if I actually go in, and I'm actually going to go over and have a look at her Twitter account, and there's nothing in here that talks specifically Oh yeah, look at these. Yeah, pretty much. She's not outright declaring herself a feminist, and if she was a writer for Playboy magazine, you wouldn't want to consider her a feminist. But keep in mind, right? I mean, when you go back and you look at Natalie Denise, and you look at her profile, very pro Trump. And I mean, again, right? You want my opinion on conservative chicks? On everything. Just go back to the previous. Neroke 5 live stream I did. So yeah, it literally starts out that way. So Magdalene Taylor is not actually a quote unquote feminist, but when you take a look at her Instagram, when you take a look at her Twitter, you know, just because she hasn't assumed a label, and the labels are very, very deceptive. And again, right, and this is going to come up during this article, by the way. Labels can be very, very, very deceiving. Um, you know, a label, once something gets stuck with a label, like for instance, red pill, MGTOW, men's rights, that type of thing, right? Each one of those, or PUA, MGTOW, father's rights, men's rights, that type of thing, right? Each one of those, when you get a certain particular label stuck to your stuck to you, I mean, that brings on a whole bunch of other things. And I mean, I myself come from the MGTOW faction of the Manosphere. I am not really overly concerned whether I'm liked or disliked by the PUA faction, which, by the way, is the faction that Myron Gaines and some of the other guys talked about. And of course, there's also people mentioned in this article that are not even connected to the Manosphere, or are very, or are just connected tangentially, as in they've been mentioned a lot, but they don't actually belong to the Manosphere. But anyway, let's just get right into it. Again, written by a woman. That has to be pointed out. And I'm not, actually, I fuck if you think I'm being misogynistic. You know what? Fuck off if you think I'm being misogynistic. Okay? With very, very rare exceptions, I have not seen women grasp to any functional degree what is going on in the Manosphere. There are very few women out there that actually legitimately know what the Manosphere is and what's been going on about it. What I have been seeing, and again, you need just simply to have me to go back, because I mean, I did 3 whole episodes about toxic memes that feminists have started putting out in large abundance since Trump won the election. And that is not necessarily to say that Trump actually won the well, he did win the election, but that Trump is responsible for that. But I mean, yeah, the male population did vote in a significantly higher proportion of the population than, and particularly the young men did vote to a larger degree for Trump. But anyway, you know what? You've been listening to me go blah 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 for the last 14, 15 minutes here. I'm just going to get into the article again, right? I have posted up the link for the article in the chat of Kick, Stream, and Twitch. So Kick, Rumble, and Twitch. So yeah, you can open and follow along, and I'm starting right now. First article, first paragraph, which is actually just one sentence. In the last several years, we've been occupied with a pressing question about young men. Are they being gobbled up by the Manosphere? Yeah. Are they too superficial? Well, my first response to that is that would depend on the value system of the male. Are they too misogynistic? Well, that is not for And to any women that are actually listening to this, and I don't mean to step on your toes here, but I'm gonna have to. I don't really give a shit if you think it's fucking misogynistic or not, right? If you think I'm being too harsh to you by saying that, um, the most immediate question that pops up to my mind is where were you when they did that disgusting fucking Gillette commercial a few years ago? Right? Because I didn't hear, with very rare exception, I didn't hear any women outwardly speaking out against it. And this next one, are they too online? That question, that last question, is going to be a very, very important one. And I'm going to bring in, because I spent almost an hour yesterday on Red Pill Nation Hangout discussing what was going on in Minnesota. And uh, yeah, it was not particularly I wasn't feeling particularly nice about it, but I mean, yeah, I was like I didn't really feel the online culture that is going on here. I'm not going to discuss Minnesota for too long here, but the online or the alt media to a huge degree has been able, and this is also happening, by the way, with Alberta separation. The alt media has been doing a brilliant job at being able to deflect the thrust parry that the AstroTurf campaign, which is very clearly coming from, at this point, I'm going to have to say it probably is, all likelihood, coming directly from Tim Walz's office and going down the AstroTurf campaign that has been taking place in Minnesota, and the attempts by the mainstream media to desperately try to come up with a George Floyd and to just continuously throw protesters at ICE and Border Patrol agents to try to create an incident, to cause chaos, to create an incident. Every move they've made has been thrusted and parried by the alt media. So are they too online? Yeah, well, that's where it got started, right? Nobody is saying it's just the internet anymore, and nobody is saying that, nobody is dismissing what is going on the internet anymore. And it's like, yeah, this is the new battleground. Continuing on to the next paragraph. Each of these questions tied themselves together in the most miserable form this weekend, as several of the internet's most controversial Manosphere figures came together for an evening of bad dating advice, gender war, manufacturing, and anti-Semitism. Yeah, I almost face palmed when I when I read that. I mean, first of all, I mean, I again, this is going to be a question that's going to come up with me. Was Magdalene Taylor even there? Right? Like, keep in mind, I don't have a direct link to any of the individuals that she's going to name in this article, so I don't know. Natalie Denise was maybe there. I'm gonna, like, if I do actually ever run into Myron Gaines, I'm gonna have to ask him about this particular, like, were there female reporters allowed to come along for this event? Because this obviously occurred when Tate was there. And again, with the, I hate to break it to you, but the Manosphere is alive and well in Israel. I know this because I have spoken to people in Israel that are MGTOW. I've also spoken to people in Israel who are Red Pill. There's actually a fairly significant number of Jewish men that are Red Pill, MGTOW, and part of the Manosphere. Like, this is not an exclusive club limited to whites, although this is probably going to come up. I'm going to find this kind of laughable. It's going to, that full of white supremacists and anti-Semites and whatever. As for the gender war manufacturing, well, go back into my content for the Neroke 5 live stream. I did three whole chapters, three whole episodes just on the gender war manufacturing that is being done by the gender war manufacturing that is currently being done by feminists. And it's actually quite insane. Like it's like insanely dangerous and whatnot. So yeah, you know, if you want to talk about gender war manufacturing, I mean, I didn't, I, I should have posted up something, but I mean, I didn't. But I mean, like again, right? I have I have three whole episodes on feminists manufacturing a gender war. As for bad dating advice, sorry, sorry, not sorry. Ladies, you forfeited your rights to define what occurs and doesn't occur on a date, or whether a guy is going to be your dancing fucking monkey or not, when you chose to remain silent about what's going on. And yeah, okay, right. This is a reverse of women saying all men are responsible because some asshole in the Middle East threw acid in a woman's face, or this one, I can't remember the name of the doctor, but I mean I remember listening to a podcast about that doctor who was dealing with the U.S. gymnast team, and I was listening to a podcast on it. I literally had to listen to these two feminists blame all men for the actions of this one creepazoid of a doctor. So, yeah, again, right, this is not particularly good. In videos released over Martin Luther King Day, why would she have to throw that in? That's not really relevant. Weekend. Andrew and Tristan Tate, Nick Fuentes, Clavicular, and other Manosphere regulars were seen partying across penthouses, limos, and nightclubs, talking down to and about women while blasting Kanye's West Heil Hitler. Do you have a shred of fucking proof that that actually happened? Like, do you? I could. And also, by the way, Nick Fuentes is not a member of the Manosphere, and Clavicular has been mentioned a lot in the Manosphere, but he doesn't get a lot of respect. So, I mean, like, what the fuck were you? The fuck were you talking about here? Again, do you have a shred of proof to back up anything of what you just said? Like, any of it. So, but anyway, yeah, let's just get on to the next video. The video, which also included streamer Sneeko, also not a member of the Manosphere, and a well-known notorious grifter, as well as influencer Justin Waller. Don't know him. I know of him, but I've never watched any of his stuff. Among others, are ostensibly supposed to be a kind of brag, a way to show their elite Manosphere hangout to the rest of the world and bank on each other's clout. All right, that sounds like something that a fucking like socially conscious liberal fucking feminist would say. Right? Again, right, there is a status inside the Manosphere. Understand that myself as a MGTOW, I really couldn't give a fucking flying fuck about the fucking pecking order and the status inside the Manosphere. Respect will be given, but I mean, it's like, like that sounds like something that a woman would say. But really, viewers see these men awkwardly standing around a nightclub vendome, preening, competing in sort of made up masculinity contests. According to who? The result is vile and hateful display of anti-Semitism, misogyny that warranted statements from local officials. Oh, you're probably talking about. Hold on, I had to click on that one. the okay, so yeah, what this is tied into is a song about the music Heil Hitler. Again, this may have even been because this is probably, I mean, what this, I mean, again, Andrew Tate, again, in this CBS News article, which, by the way, there's a link to it in the thing here. Why are you saying sorry for? We literally played music that requested, he said. CBS News also reached out to Andrew Tate, another individual who reported to him president, but did not receive a response. That's probably because Tate really wasn't again, right? That had nothing to do. Again, that probably I also knowing how these individuals act, it would have been possibly uh this possibly could have been a this could have also been something resembling a this could have also potentially been a setup and somebody called in, but statements from local officials, yeah, Tate simply being there does not does not actually equate to an endorsement of it. So again, right, and none of it, of course, looked like any fun. Again, right, wasn't there. I my first question is that was this an actual official event or was this just a bunch of guys going out to a club after Tate had gone on Fresh and Fit and were just hanging out? Like, that don't expect. I'm not expecting that Magdalene Taylor was going to actually give a response to that. There are many upsetting pieces to pick apart in this specific outing, but let's focus on the women for a minute. Instead of actually parting, these men are pseudo philosophizing about why women aren't worth their time. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I mean, and I'm going to be mentioning this again at the end of it. That's kind of the point of the Manosphere, right? Like this is something, it doesn't revolve around you, right? And it's like, yeah, you know, I don't know if I'm ever going to be on Fresh and Fit. I'm not going to be pushing very hard to be on Fresh and Fit. If I go and do a thing with any of the major PUA content producers, because I would probably do something with, say, Undead Chronic or Terrence Pop or Sandman or the Honey Badgers before I went on Myron Gaines' show or on whatever. The the after show, I mean, we would probably be sitting around and talking about this sort of stuff too. We would, right? We're both in this more or less in the same field. So yeah, that is not that big of a surprise. I don't know why everybody is acting like that's a bit of that big of a surprise, but that's that's kind of what would likely occur. Um, it's like, yeah, like, gee, I'm sorry if you think that guys in the manosphere are thinking that women aren't worth their time anymore. I hate to break it to you, but I mean, you've kind of done this to yourself. Now, I don't really care if you like me saying that or not, but you have kind of done this to yourself, right? You've made yourself so toxic and undateable and you have bought into, and by the way, with very rare exceptions, have not made any attempt to question the feminist narrative in any capacity, with to any degree. Yeah, I'm looking at all this and I'm like going, yeah, like, are they worth the time? Is the juice worth the squeeze? That's a very common statement in the manosphere. The next sentence is is kind of laughable. Historically, part of performing heterosexual masculinity has been proximity to women, dating with them, sleeping with them, simply having them around. In other words, liking women. Yeah, that is historically. Women broke the social contract. Women broke the social contract. We are under no obligation to follow the social contract either. Uh, yeah, that's really all I got to say about that one. But in this layer of the manosphere, other men are apparently the priority. Okay, this is the part where, and yeah, I am going to have to address this because she does this a lot in this article, where she throws in, well, these guys must be gay, right? Brotherhood, teammates, or whatever. These guys must just be gay. And it's like imagine being so stupid that you would think that guys just simply exist to be an appliance or an accessory to women, you know? Uh, yeah, teaching other men to have control of their sexuality and not prioritizing women in their life is a very is one of the cornerstones. And you will, and basically, whether it's men's rights, MGTOW, or PUA, or the overall catch thing, that is a very specific issue inside the red pill. The only reason to have women is to prove how little you desire them. No, it's not about whether you desire them or don't desire them. It's the fact that you were able to be solid enough in yourself as a person and solid enough in your sexuality that, their approval and your desire are not really it's like that scene from the Matrix where it's like, well, you gotta tell me that I can dodge bullets. It's like, well, if you get past the red pill rage and you actually do the inner work, you won't have to. The goal is not to look good for women, but to look good for each other in some sort of solipsistic power grab with no tangible reward besides anonymous internet users telling them they mogged the other. And that, again, that's female talk. Again, right? She does, as this article goes on, she does start getting into the starts throwing out this latent homosexual that these guys must be gay. And I will cover that at the end, but I mean, again, right, this is a she's going to do this quite frequently. The only individual actually seen interacting at this weekend's videos was Clavicular, a relatively new figure of the Manosphere, known for his promotion of looks maxing, which is not particularly popular in the Manosphere. Like, I have yet to see a single guy that I've listened to that has had anything good to say about looks maxing. The thing about looks maxing is that I mean, you are doing it just like the whole thing about status. You're doing this for the approval. You're being gynocentric. And again, for this, he was derided by the other men and viewers online. And yeah, justifiably so. Right? That's what's going to happen. Clavicular is not really all that respected. Again, I that is like, I mean, I could get into clavicular. I haven't listened to enough of his stuff to know. From the little that I have been able to determine about clavicular, he is very gynocentric. And again, being MGTOW, anti-gynocentrism is one of the four central pillars. So yeah, no shit, that's automatically probably 30 to 40% of the manosphere that's going to be turning on him just because. And the other two are probably not going to be a lot far behind. Okay, Bro is in a room with Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes, Tristan Tate, Myron, etc., and is distracted by a random hoe. One engagement farming account on X wrote, one engagement farming account on X wrote, this is why controlling lust is important. Later on the nightclub, Fuentes, who has insisted he is attracted to women, practically begged Clavicular not to bring women around to hang out with, for him to hang out with. Fuentes has, I believe, mentioned multiple times, and again, Fuentes is also not a member of the Manosphere. Just thought I'd bring that up. Fuentes likes to limit his interactions with women. He has decided, although he claims to dislike MGTOW, he certainly has a lot of MGTOW qualities. One of them is that he limits his interaction with women. Right? That is what Fuentes does. And yeah, clavicular doing that with Fuentes. Again, I can understand why Fuentes is doing it, and I have very limited knowledge of Fuentes. And then of course we have this one. Justin Waller tells Clavicular why should never take a woman on a dinner date. Yeah, well, I mean, I hate saying it, but I mean, like, again, I'm not super familiar with Justin Waller, but it's like, yeah, it's like you don't. It is a waste of time and money, right? Again, this is early PUA stuff. The woman is either attracted to you or not attracted to you, right? There's not really a lot of in between when it comes to this sort of thing. I totally get why it's in, and again, right? If you're following along on the stream here, it's like, yeah, you know, what I'm probably going to have to do is I'm going to have to post this article up so you can go through it, because I mean, I'm taking my time, kind of like reading almost a sentence at a time here. Meanwhile, Waller explained to Clavicular why he'd never take a woman out on a dinner date. A one-on-one dinner with a woman is a mistake and a fucking waste of time and money. Well, it is, said Waller. 3 hours of bullshit, Clavicular responded. Clavicular is not really incorrect either, right? Once upon a time, that was part of the courtship process. And again, right, and you'll never get Magdalene to actually openly confess this, but I mean, women broke the social compact. They did. Yeah, sorry, they did. So, you know, spend your money in more appropriate places, right? Women keep telling you that you're there, that you're not entitled to their body. Well, then conversely, women are not entitled to men's resources. And before you go, I have many mistakes. Time and attention are also male resources. Thank you for your time. Yes, thank you very much for your time on that. So again, going down this, continuing on, it seems worth reminding these ostensibly again with the goddamn suggestions that they might be gay. Third time that's happened now. That engaging in heterosexuality is supposed to be a good time for those who align with it. Being in the company of a woman is supposed to be pleasurable, whether it's to be enjoying a meal and conversation with her or more intimate acts in the bedroom. It is a normal, healthy, and all-around masculine interest for a young man to be more interested in hot women sitting on his lap and networking with men whose only real claim to be pushing his online ideological circle. That paragraph by Magdalene Taylor is an opinion, and it's an opinion, my red pill brothers, that you can completely ignore. All most women have basically given up their right to defining what masculine is when they stop asking men to define what feminine is. Sorry, that's kind of how it works, right? Action, consequence. It's not an ideological circle jerk. And if it is an ideological circle jerk, Madeline, maybe you might want to actually tell us how. Maybe somebody in the chat might want to tell me how. Because, you know, because it's not a circle jerk, right? If it's a circle jerk that doesn't work, then why is the Manosphere taking off on an incremental level? Again, that's just her opinion. And of course, we've got a video by Devo, again, a guy who's not in the Manosphere. They wanted Clavicula's attention all night, and when they finally got it, he straight up violated them by calling them old. Again, right? Clavicula is not a member of the Manosphere, and I'm going to have to be very careful that I don't. Again, Devo's probably not a guy I want to be having in my circle of friends. Many of us who have seen these videos have questioned whether these men are actually just gay and closeted. Again, fourth time with the suggestion that they might be gay. This is I'm going to have to really dig into this particular issue because this is something that has really popped up a lot in the last few months. But I'm unsure it's quite so simple. They could just as easily craft a masculine persona and also be gay. Plenty of men manage to do so without being hateful. Again, right? Again, with the suggestions that there's gay, I'm gonna have, like I say, I'm gonna be addressing that at the end after I finish reading this. What this court of the Manosphere displayed over the weekend has little to do with sex at all. In this world of modeling their anti-women masculinity for camera, they're putting on a show of so-called manliness that is entirely detached from the reality of being a straight guy. Again, says the woman Magdalene Taylor. Says the woman Magdalene Taylor. I'm actually saving this right now. There we go. It's been saved. All right. Come on. Take it down. Take it down. Oh, wow. Okay. Now the computer has decided to be uncooperative with me. So, I'm going to have to just talk a little bit about this because apparently this. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay. All right, so don't know what's going on here, but wait. What the hell? Oh, wait, no, hold it. There we go. Come on. Come on. All right, there we go. Yeah, all right. Computer decided to glitch out on me there. Sorry, Magdalene, what is the reality of being a straight guy? the reality of being a straight guy is the lonely guy epidemic. This, which, by the way, feminists like you have been attempting to minimize. Uh, the reality of being a straight guy right now is potential false accusations. The reality of being a straight guy right now is the fact that every interaction you have with a woman um, ostensibly hands her a metaphorical gun that she can turn and use on you at any point in time. Sorry, to any of the listeners that are currently listening to me, am I stepping on any toes here? Well, gee, I I don't care. Um, Not to insult you or anything like that, but it's like, yeah. What is yeah? Sorry, Magdalene. What is the reality of being a straight guy? All right, next. That makes sense. They're so wrapped up in this diluted. Sorry, what? How is it diluted? Sorry, how is taking your power back and not being dictated to by your sexuality or attempting to conform to an external value being dictated to by toxic feminist women? How is that diluted? They're so wrapped up in this diluted image of it all, they can't even enjoy what be the spoils of being the type of macho guy they claim to be. It's not about being fucking macho. Yeah, I'm actually face palming right now. Right, I've read this before, but it's like, yeah, I didn't want to read it too much because I needed to have the reactions be genuine. And it's like, this isn't about being macho, right? I've already explained a lot of the issues that have going on before. This isn't about being macho. This is about being true to your purpose and true to who you want to be as a man and a human being and where you want to fit in, if you even want to fit in. I have never heard Tate, either one of the Tates, or Myron Gaines, or Nick Fuentes, even though he's not a member of the Manosphere. And I don't know the other ones, but it's like I've never heard of these guys even talk about that fucking about the macho guy. Like, wow. Like, sorry, gotta ask Magdalene, what color is the sky that you live on, right? The planet that you live on. Continuing on, nobody involved in this universe is having fun. Well, I mean, I've been involved in the Manosphere over a decade. I'm having a fucking blast. And by the way, that blast, having a great time is on my terms, not what you decide is fun, right? Again, right? Gotta keep saying this. Women broke the social contract that existed. When they broke the social contract, you ostensibly gave up your right to define to a man what is and isn't fun, what is and isn't what a man is supposed to be, and what is and what a man's purpose isn't supposed to be. You gave up your privilege to dictate on what masculinity is, right? Like, like I'm sure you've got your group of simps or whatever, and trust me, I've dealt with, and I actually, again, go back into my live streams. I have I think it's number 5, army of simps, right? I've dealt with more than a few simps in my time. Yeah, I'm having a blast. So anyway, nobody involved in this universe is having fun. Not the men in the videos, not the women who are somehow willing to be around them, and especially not the young men who idolize them and lurk in Discord servers that encourage them to take on their antagonistic way of thinking. This isn't about encouraging young men to take on an antagonistic way of thinking. This is feminism breaking the social contract and guys now redefining what masculinity is by their terms, not by what you fucking say it is. That's what's going on. it seems antagonistic to you. Not that I'm actually going to be really considering what you and do or do not consider antagonistic. It seems antagonistic to you because it's not going along with what you think men should be. But again, thanks to feminism, thanks to the fact that you refuse, the overwhelming majority of women out there refuse to be critical about the feminist dialogue, you gave up that privilege to define what men are, how men should act, how men should do anything, right? You gave that up. And it's here. The Manosphere is beginning to fall up. Oh my God. Um, the Manosphere is not falling apart. All right. I can tell you, I've done a lot of looking into this, man. The Manosphere has never been larger than it's been at this point in time, at any other time in the history of humanity. Right? Now, as the Manosphere gets bigger, it's going to break down into factions, and those factions are going to break into other smaller factions. Like, for instance, MGTOW started out as a tie-in to the men's rights movement, and then MGTOW kind of like bloop, gulped off and kind of went off on its own. And then along the way, Ibmore and the Black Pill kind of like broke off from MGTOW. So I mean, yeah, it's like it's not falling apart. It's just simply evolving and breaking down into various cells or the various factions as the numbers get bigger. There were already signs of political sway in the Manosphere losing its shine, with approval ratings for Trump among young men in steady decline. This is actually a link. I'm going to have to click on it because I'm going to have to take a look at this poll or this article, just because it's like you can't just take what Magdalene has been saying at her word anymore. She's just dropped the ball so fucking much. So yeah, here I am. Oh, it's Puck. What's the date on this? Oh, this is very recent. In fact, I am going to say this is this is very, very recent. In fact, I am going to have to say this because it mentions the deposition of Maduro. Oh yeah, January 6th. Like not even barely 3 weeks old. Right. And by Peter Hamby. Here, let me just take a look at what it says about Peter Hamby here. Because again, right, I have to always when writers like this write stories like this, you always have to look at the source, and you also have to take a look at this sort of thing. Okay, so then let's just take a look at this dude. What type of an individual? Puck News, Snapchat. Oh, CNN. I'm looking at his X profile right now. Right off the bat, CNN. He is followed by some conservatives. He does not appear to be an absolute hardcore. Oh, wait, hold on. When I start going through here, yeah, no, this guy's a fucking leftist. Yeah, this dude's a leftist. And, again, right, her source from this is a individual writing on a blog. So, yeah, with approval ratings of Trump among young men on a steady decline, that is done by Peter Hamby. Again, I'm not sure about his sources for this, and I can't actually get to those sources because it would require me to have to start getting into a little bit more of a thing. But again, right, there has been a steady campaign. I don't think that this is actually true. I'm actually going to click on this, see if, because here's the thing, right? Like, this source that she uses, I can't actually open up this guy's blog to actually confirm or not confirm what it is he's talking about. So yeah, continuing on here. Part of why it all looks like such a bad time this weekend too is because there's rift among the online figures of the Manosphere, like Andrew Tate, for example, called Sneeko a crybaby. Sneeko's not a member of the Manosphere; he's a fucking grifter. Following the these guys don't like women; they don't even really like each other. Well, again, it's not like they don't like each other. There's various factions, and they have differing strategies on how to deal with the culture war from a gender perspective. Magdalene would have known that if she had bothered to do her research, but she didn't. Okay. This entire spectacle has laid forth a fundamental reality about the Manosphere. Oh, I cannot wait till you read this again. That it was never been a brotherhood. Sorry, that's supposed to be a shock to me. Well, it is and it isn't. About brotherhood, about improving men or masculinity, but a competition with no real reward. Okay, there are guys in the men in the Manosphere who are just simply out to do content farming. And of course, there's also allegedly been individuals, say in PUA, that attempted to get MGTOW content producers shut down. Well, this is nothing new, right? Like, this is not anything new. Hate to break it to you, man, but this is not really anything new in any real capacity. Anybody who's been in the Manosphere as long as I have would know that. Perhaps all this is reason for some hope. Those who remain obsessed with guys like Tate and Waller may continue on, but eventually the thin bonds of community they found admiring online will dissolve too. No, they're not, right? Again, that's an opinion based on really skeptical, potentially out of context videos on Twitter, and done by a woman who, and by the way, yeah, I'm going to have to put up the corporate flag here. You'll notice that the Playboy symbol is top second from the left, right? Again, I will point out that the corporate flag of America is a leftist symbol, but I mean, when it comes to something like Playboy, I think this is very, very appropriate. All right, other things to mention. Nick Fuentes, not a member of the Manosphere. Clavicular, not really a member of the Manosphere. Yeah, just like wow. So yeah, that concludes the reading of the article. Now I'm going to get into like my personal takes on this, and I got a whole bunch of them. The first response, and this is, this one. All right, first one. Poorly researched people men have she mentioned, all right, yeah, and she mentioned, again, I've mentioned this through when I was reading the thing. There's only tangentially tied to the Manosphere or not in the Manosphere at all. Nick Fuentes, clavicular, that type of thing. I mean, I will say one thing for sure, at least that she didn't actually try to bring in Jordan Peterson, or she didn't try to play the white supremacy card. She did try to play the anti-Semite card, but again, anti-Semitism to a great degree is tied into white supremacy. It's kind of hard to. I almost think that she chose the anti-Semitic trope because if she had tried white supremacy and had Myron Gaines and Andrew Tate on here, Andrew Tate, whose father is African, by the way, it wouldn't have gone. So she may have, and again, right, there are women out there are dishonest people out here that are that smart. She may have decided to go with anti-Semitic because like it's kind of hard to play the white supremacy card when you know a lot of the biggest Manosphere content creators are African American. All right, the other part, and this is the one that she says right at the end, but I have to bring this up. The Manosphere has always had factions. Yeah, the Manosphere has always had factions. This isn't new. This is not new at all. MGTOW and PUA, for instance, really do not like each other very much. They have completely differing views. I can tell you for a fact that Clavicular is not exactly loved or respected inside the MGTOW community, for instance. Neither is Nick Fuentes. Again, Nick Fuentes is not a member of the Manosphere, though, so anything he has to say can be dismissed out of hand. Haven't listened to Clavicular stuff. I have not listened, at least not knowingly, have I listened to Justin Waller. I may have to go and listen to him now just because, but I mean, I have not listened to Justin Waller's stuff in any real capacity. And nor, by the way, have I listened to Sneeko, because honestly, man, like Sneeko will just go and jump on whatever trend he thinks is really important, and he's got a bunch of catchwords, but I really don't think he's like he's not Manosphere. He'll go with whatever trend he thinks is going to give him views, and I suspect that's probably why Magdalene Taylor chose to drop him in there. Three, and I said this multiple times, and I'm going to say it again: women do not get defined masculinity anymore. Yes, that's true, and she does do. Magdalene Taylor does do that more than a few times in this particular article. So I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to say it as bluntly as I can. Masculinity is no longer for women to fucking define. Nor, by the way, is it a place for any of the simps or any of the betas that you're going to try and send at us. And I suspect, again, I'm going to be doing more reaction videos like this as I go along. But I mean, it's like, yeah, there's going to be more there's going to be more content like this. There's going to be more hit pieces like this, right? Yeah, women, and this is something that I found out relatively early, and it was actually a woman who told me this. It was like women broke the social contract. Women broke the social contract, so men no longer have to follow it. You know, you break a deal, face the wheel, and the wheel turned in such a way that men are just basically, and I mean, and this is something that I'm going to point out here. You know, there is a massive MGTOW component, even though Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes and Tristan Tate and a lot of these guys are kind of Myron Gaines are kind of like negative towards MGTOW. When I actually listen to a lot of their content and a lot of the stuff they're talking about, like there's a very strong MGTOW component to what Magdalene Taylor was talking about. Can't really say I'm overly surprised about this. Next point. Had the writer of this article actually known or done any research on the Manosphere, she would have known that the Manosphere is for men and not for the approval of women. Again, this goes into what I was just talking about earlier. Yeah, I mean, the Manosphere is for us, babe, not for you. Right? You again gotta keep saying this. Women broke the social contract. And because women broke the social contract, men no longer have to follow it. And men are going to redefine what masculinity is. And there's going to be a return to it. And no, it's not going to be the fucking macho. Like, I don't know. Like, I have never, I mean, okay, if you listen, I don't know who Justin, I haven't listened to any Justin Wallace stuff, so I can't comment. I haven't listened to clavicular stuff. I can't actually comment anything. And Nick Fuentes and Sneeko don't count as far as I'm concerned. So the two guys, and this is why I have them up right now. Um, I have listened to these guys. I have not. And by the way, Andrew Tate can be pretty open about his opinions, right? And I mean, I've not heard either one of the two guys on the screen right now utter the word macho out of their mouth at any point in time, like ever. Like ever. And I don't know what why she chose that language. Probably because she didn't do any research. You know, like again, right? And again, right? It's like a lot of the stuff they're talking about is again, right? Like, and I have to go into the hidden gay ramification because I am seeing this being tossed out about the manosphere on an increasing basis. A lot of it coming from women. Uh, you want to know the types of relationships that men can have with each other. A good fictional example would be Band of Brothers or any of the war movies that you've seen. I mean, those men had to rely on each other to save their lives. When you have that type of a connection with a man where you have to put your fucking life into the hands of another man, or you have to trust a man with really deep personal details that you cannot even tell your wife, right? That creates a bond that is, and then this has been a direct quote. I've heard this twice, two or three times. The bond that the men have with their units in World War II was stronger than the ones that they had with their wives, right? That is not gay. That is because men do not identify. This is coming from a woman, by the way, but Karen Strawn summed it up perfectly. Men do not just automatically bond with other men because they happen to be men, right? There has to be a commonality, a common purpose, a common goal, a common belief. It has to be something above and beyond just having male genitalia. Men don't bond with each other that way, right? Uh Women interaction with men are in a lot in an overwhelming majority of cases there is a sexual component to them, and it's like, you know, they cannot conceive of the concept of two men bonding together so strongly like that. Like they just can't. And it's like they can't see that happening without them sleeping with each other. Right? Like that's effectively why this has been tossed out there, right? And it's like for the men listening to this, I mean, when you hear a critic of the manosphere throw that out there, right? What I think you need to be doing is that you need to be, it's like, oh, you think it's gay. Do you? Well, how? With specifics. How? Right? You notice that they will throw this out there, but like none of these people that have thrown this out there has bothered to go into the explanations as to why that's been the case. Now, and you know, here's the irony of it, and this is also one of the other reasons why they bring this up, the closeted gay stuff as well. It's because it's a safe thing to bring up, right? Also, if you choose to actually outright call and challenge uh women on this, it's like, oh, you must be triggered, or well, you must be closeted gay and you're attempting to cover this up. But you know what? Take both of those fucking explanations and shove them up your ass. Okay? Like, if you're going to make an assertion like that, have fucking evidence to back it up. And calling it out, well, I got a really simple response to that. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Oh, well, this really your response is a prize. Well, actually, yeah, it is. Like, if you're gonna make a push, you gotta make a claim like that, back it the fuck up. Like, seriously, back it the ever living fuck up, or shut the fuck up. One of the two. So I got a couple more things, and then I'm going to sum it up here, and then I have to get going here because I got to be at work in a couple of hours. What was the context of this event? Like, was Magdalene Taylor actually there? And I'm saying this because I have seen articles in the past around the Manosphere where a guy shows up at a men's event, hangs around for 5 minutes, talks to a couple people, and then leaves and then writes a story. Or you get a guy like Jeff Charlotte who goes to the event and spends, or I'm trying to remember whether it was GQ or that other individual, but there was a guy from, I think it was a guy from GQ that was attempting to actually manufacture an incident at the first international conference on men's issues in Detroit, Michigan, a few years ago. That was not a few years ago. That was like 13 years ago, right? So I mean, yeah, there's a what's and this is a legitimate thing. Like, was she even there? Right? Like, there's nothing in the article that suggests that she was there in any capacity. And that is something that I have to ask. And then the other question that I got to ask is that like, and I've a couple other things. And this I have to be harsh here with Myron and the Tates. Did you allow female reporters to accompany you? Right? There has been a historically bad precedent of allowing female reporters, especially unproven female reporters with no actual background or knowledge about the Manosphere, to accompany guys in the Manosphere to men's events. Actually, even quote unquote progressive males, it's never been a good idea to invite them along. You don't invite reporters along, or you don't invite women along that are not proven. This is one of the other reasons why there were certain men in this group that didn't want women around. Like, for instance, if I was there, I wouldn't have wanted women around. And it's not because I'm fucking gay and I wanted to have a crack at Andrew Tate's ass, right? Right? It's because I wanted to have a discussion with other men about men's issues, not interested in having female input. Yeah, that makes you a misogynist. I don't fucking care. I'm sick of individuals like Magdalene Taylor acting as though if I want to have this type of a discussion, I don't want to fucking include her, that somehow makes me a misogynist. No, you had your fucking chance. This the Manosphere is a group of men for men. That does not make it latently homosexual, no matter how badly some people, Magdalene Taylor, try to make it out to be. Yeah, it doesn't. Um, Again, even if it was an informal meeting after the meeting, right? It's still, I mean, yeah, it's again, speaking about myself personally, if I had been in this crew, I wouldn't have wanted women around either. Right? I would have been I probably would have been a little bit more polite about the situation than say just Justin Waller was, but it's like, yeah, no, I wouldn't have wanted women around either, right? Just saying, like not wanting to have women around and to have a discussion with other men, especially when it comes to men's issues, is perfectly reasonable. Brothers from another mother to not want to have women around. It is. And the last part on this, and this is the one that really it's the I have to cover this and then I'm going to have to go here. The concept of magical thinking, right? And this whole ultimately this is what this article comes down to is the entire concept of magical thinking, right? That somehow if you say this stuff about the Manosphere, that it is somehow going to magically make it true. Oh, looks like all right. Hold on a second here. We'll have to repost it up. I'm gonna have to repost it up in the Twitch because it's already been deleted. If although there's only I only got one listener on Twitch anyway, so it's don't know if he's already got the article loaded up, but to the one listener I have on Twitch, there's the article again. Um, hopefully you did. Hopefully you remembered to download it and follow along. Yeah, like this. Yeah, like the Manosphere has never been bigger. Maybe you kind of missed things back in 2024, but here, let me explain to you what happened. Men, in particular, men in the fertility window, which would include me, but I mean, I live in Canada, not the US, voted a lot for Trump. This spawned 4B, which was it just went absolutely nowhere. And by the way, as a MGTOW, I got to admit, I had a massive laugh about that. The Manosphere is never been the Manosphere has never been is not dying. The Manosphere is not going down. It's like this is all like the only place that I can think of where this type of magical thinking existed was around the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse. You know, as if saying it was somehow going to make it true, and saying it does not make it true. And I can tell you because I've been keeping very clear and careful tabs on this. The Manosphere is not dying. The Manosphere is not getting any smaller. The Manosphere is getting larger. In fact, I even went on the record in one of my Red Pill Nation shows, the one that predicted the trends for this year. I'm on record as saying that it's like you're gonna potentially see Republican people running for the Republican Party in particular. You're gonna start seeing in close races, like you're gonna start seeing some Republican politicals that are attempting to run for us. You're gonna start seeing them bring out Manosphere content. Why? Because when it's a 2 to 3% group of your voter base, but in a really close race, that 2 to 3% might make the difference. That's all I got to say about this. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed having to do this again. I hope to see some more. By the way, again, like I always do, I totally forgot. There's my banner. If you want to support me financially on a month-to-month basis, Patreon. I tried going to Subscribestar. They were like nothing. If anybody's got an alternative to Patreon, let me know. That's the best place to get a hold of me. I am at Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, YouTube, Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Getter, and TLB Talks, among others. Where else am I? Oh, yeah, I'm also at Instagram and a few other places. Yeah, I'm at Instagram as well. I should maybe mention that. And Tumblr. But, I mean, yeah, maybe I should probably get back into posting up stuff at at my WordPress page, and I probably will at some point. But for now, yeah, that's where you can find me. I expect there's going to be a few things different down the road. There's going to be some changes down the road, but that is it. Anyway, removing the banner, going back to the design. I'm going to finish off with I got a different got a different song here. I'm going to play this off as my closing music, and then I'm going to call it a night. So here you go. This is Six Wings Below by Roger.
They don't say mercy, they don't say name. escape from what I know. Call it glory, call it sound. Heaven's claws in sacred ground. If this is God, I stand condemned, sanctified, never end.
Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Neroke 5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribestar. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.